470-3520 or call us at +27 12 001 7679. Let your voice be heard. Adventist World Radio, powered by SID Media. From broadcast to baptism.
This is quite a sensitive issue, and I realize that there are people, both adults and children, who still do not know how to read and write, regardless of waking up in the morning, going to school for years and years. How can you help such a person? Sometimes it is an entire family, which is scary because then you think of the ripple effect of that, whereby you imagine the future of those children, the poverty that might persist in the home when their generational misfortunes don't come to an end. That is scary, painful, and that is why we're going to find out about the core of literacy and how it affects various parts of our lives, and where possible, how you can be of assistance to those who do not have it. Roscoe Williams is an award-winning program director of Read to Rise, and over the past 12 years, this amazing organization has donated over 380,000 books, visited over 100 schools in SA, delivered over 8,600 lessons, and created over 400 mini libraries. That is amazing. Good morning, Roscoe. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good morning, and how are you doing?
Good, thanks. And how are you?
Well, thank you. It's a great morning.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be speaking with you because the work that you do is life changing. And,
Yeah,
we're speaking about illiteracy, meaning that we have to understand then what literacy is. Maybe let's start from there and then we get into a little bit of your own background story and how you got here.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, literacy is a huge issue all over, And I mean, if we think what is literacy, it's the ability being able to read, to understand,
Mm,
and to be able to converse what you read. And like you just heard, now we're working in a number of schools in under-resourced communities where, yeah, literacy is sometimes the furthest thing from a child's mind, um, being whatever circumstances around them is happening.
mm.
And as you know, there's many negative things happening in the Cape Flats area.
Yeah, because that's actually where you are based, in the Western
Yeah,
Cape. Mm.
yeah.
Do you have a story behind getting involved in this work?
So we grew up in the community of Mitchell's Plain. So I'm the co-founder of Read to Rise, along with my brother Ethel Williams and Karen Locke, who are also the founders of Read to Rise. Now, if you just think back quickly, Ethel is actually not only inspiration to me, but a lot of people coming from the Cape Flats. He's my older brother, and he was fortunate because of the love of reading. He was fortunate to go and study at five of the best universities in the world. He's been to Wits,
Amazing.
Harvard,
Wow.
MIT, London Cervical, Oxford. He's now a professor. He's Dr. Ethel Williams. He comes and he's at Oxford University. And
Mhm.
12 years ago, when we were working in the community of Mitchell's Plain, we've previously worked in some schools, and they've identified this literacy issue. And one of the main reasons why children are not reading is the fact of not having access to books. And Ethel, being also an award-winning author, we first thought, look, the children need books. We went around searching at various bookshops, and what we discovered is that books are extremely expensive. So in order to provide thousands of children with books, it was going to cost quite a bit of money. Ethel then decided to write his own children's book, based on the character named Oki the Acorn. So our books, the whole series of books, is based around this tiny acorn, and it goes on different adventures. It has different morals and values in these books. And I remember in 2013, where Ethel wrote his first book called Oki and the Sun, and Karen Locke, she is the illustrator of this book. And we went into one of the schools in the Mitchell's Plain area, just to try this out. We wrote this book, we designed a program around this book, and the school gave us an opportunity to see if this program will work or how it will affect the children. And I tell you, after the first lesson in that class, to see the reaction of those children, I think that is where it sparked us and said, look, I think this is our calling and this is what we want to do.
Mm.
And we like I said, we got this whole series of books, and we've designed programs around it. So look, we are not a courier company just going dropping off books.
Yeah.
We, along with my team, because a lot of people think, oh, you're just going dropping off books. No, every day we're at a
No.
different school, along with our team, where we spend a day in the foundation phase classes. So we it's very interactive, these stories and our programs. So we first talk about the importance of reading. It's a like a discussion, open discussion in the classroom, where we get children's ideas and thoughts, also to encourage their peers why it's important to read. And then also we read the story, and when we finish with the story, we then discuss the story, and like I said, every story has these valuable life lessons in it. And sometimes when we discuss it, it'll spark something inside a child's mind, and and that is how we get these kids excited about reading, by going into these classes, bringing fun and exciting stories to these children. And the fun thing and the interesting thing is the children can relate to these stories of Oki, whether it's
Yeah.
bullying, whether it's finding one's purpose in life. Every story has these types of values in it, where we go into the schools, and it gets children to think. So we're not only a literacy organization, but we also
Mm.
see ourselves as an inspirational organization, because we
I
leave
love
we leave children excited and pumped after we leave. And like I said, for the past 12 years, been working in this community. So when we go into the schools, I feel so bad at times because we disrupt when the children see us, whether it's grade 7 children or grade 5 children, and they see us on the school, that the buzz is there. Now they have a constant reflection back to their time in grade 2 and grade 3 when we were there. I'm even
Mm.
fortunate to work in some of the high schools on the Cape Flats areas, and the same reaction there. There you have matriculants that get excited because they know the impact we had when they were at primary school.
Wow.
So yeah, so that is our mission and what got us to where we are today.
Mm, I love that. The time of reading with the learners and
Yeah,
then discussing. Can you imagine the impact that homes would have if, even let's say, if it wasn't reading, much as reading is very important, right? If, let's
yeah,
say, after a movie, after a series,
yeah,
as you guys are watching, to discuss what was happening, at least that
yeah,
way you're still able to make impact of real life situations, help them see what is right to do, what is wrong to do. You
yeah,
guide their moral compass, something
yeah,
that we don't do. We just leave it up to the TV to do it, and then the child has to make their own determination of what's
yeah,
right and wrong, because we
yeah,
don't give them that guiding point. So I
yeah.
love what you guys do, and it takes time, eh?
No, it does take time. It takes that, but the reason why we do it is because with the reading with understanding part,
Mm-hmm.
so that is where the comprehension comes in. So sometimes some kids, you just need to give them a bit of key points to get them to think, and that's how we grew up. My parents, we would read and they would ask you questions, and that helped us to understand. And I think that is why we design our program in a way like that, where
Yeah.
we get those kids to think. At the back of our books there is questions, about 15 questions about the
Mm.
story. So you go there and you actually discuss these stories. And when you finish with your program in that class, and whether it's a break or interval outside, those kids are standing by you because they continue the discussion with you. Because in that time that you were there, now their brain are working, and they're
Mm.
going, and they think, yeah. So yeah, like I
Mm.
say, it's we open up the door for conversations in our class. Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely do. And as you share the reading process, I wonder, have you come across learners who you noticed as you guys were reading maybe are struggling with
yeah,
sounds, the phonetics and the reading?
yeah,
Have you seen that? Is it a lot of
yeah.
learners? Is it very few learners?
It varies from school to school. It's you will see it. So look, when we provide during our program, we give now each child a book. You know,
Mm.
the sad thing is for some children, it's the first time they've ever owned a book. So now you give
Wow.
them this high quality book, and I like to emphasize a high quality book because we could have gone for a very cheap quality book, but we treat these kids with dignity, with pride,
Mm.
and it's brand new books. So on the first page it says them this book belongs to. So now you tell the child, please write your name and surname in that book, and you don't
Wow.
realize how powerful that is. To tell the child that is your
Mm.
book. And now they have their book.
Wow.
So now when we read as a class, so everybody's reading together, and what I will do and my team will do while they're reading, we walk up and down the passages in between the class, in between the tables, and I look at every child. So that's how I will be able to see. Okay, you can see if someone's not following or they're unable to read, and I always verify this with a teacher. And she'll mention to me, okay, look, this learner struggles and things like that. So we don't often highlight them in the class, just for our personal knowledge. But during our program, at the end of it, the encouragement comes. We encourage those learners without them knowing we actually highlighting them. And like I say, yeah, you do come across these learners that are struggling. Um,
Ish.
but we don't just visit these learners once, and disappear. We
Mm.
have we because there's 47 primary schools in the Mitchells Plain area. So there's 47 schools, and we're helping 10,000 grade twos and 10,000 grade threes. So we visit them twice a year. And so if I visit you first half of the year, the second time when I come up, we do a follow up. We discuss the previous story. Have you answered the questions? And the amazing part is, many times those learners that are struggling, you'll get positive stories from them, because the teacher will say, "Look, this learner was struggling. Then you can see that child has now made effort to actually read,
Mm.
has answered the questions." And we what we discover is that sometimes the child doesn't want to read the school reader, the curriculum books, because maybe it's boring for these kids. It doesn't excite them. Whereas with our books, it's colorful, it's fun. We have songs in it, so it's a very very interactive story. So that's why I feel bad at times where these kids carry these books with them so long, and they treasure it, but at least they are reading. So we know that these stories, it's sparking something in these kids, and it's
Yeah.
getting them to read. Yeah, yeah,
Certainly. And I feel like what I'm learning from what you're saying is, as a parent, when you are able to go to a bookshop, sometimes books are not expensive.
yeah,
I am I
yeah,
think there's an assumption that books always have to cost 200-300 rand. That's not
yeah,
true. Books
yeah,
can be 5 rand. Books can
yeah,
be free. And
yeah,
I think a caring parent or guardian can take their child, just like how you spend time, you don't always have to go and eat out, which I'm not saying
yeah,
is not important, but you could
yeah,
spend a day and go to a market, a flea market, go to a mall where there's a bookshop, walk inside and do, even if it's window shopping
yeah,
at first, so that you have an idea of the
yeah,
interest of the child. Just allow them
yeah,
there for an hour inside that shop to see what they're
yeah,
looking at, what they like. And then
yeah,
you gift them, you
yes,
buy them a book that's, if they like colorful books, like what you're saying, especially when they're very small, because you start these kids
yeah,
out with. I remember when I was a child, remember those books where you would connect the dots, and then your parents buy
yeah,
you colors, crayons, then you start
yeah,
painting, coloring the stuff in, that
yeah,
that helps the even how to hold the pencil and stuff like that.
yeah,
But sometimes learners are just growing up with this device, and that's
yeah,
all they have. This is all the
yeah,
entertainment they have, as well as the TV at home, and of course all the TikTok dances, which half the time
yeah,
are
yeah,
not really age appropriate. But
yeah,
that's the exposure that the learners, that the kids have. And it's like, as a parent, you need to be very cognizant. If you have a
yeah,
child, become a
yeah,
child,
yeah,
grow again from with your kids.
yeah,
so that they don't get left behind. Like what you said, the school system has so many kids inside that I can
yeah,
imagine with one teacher in the classroom with 50 learners in a class,
yeah,
sometimes 80 in grade
yeah,
one. How are
yeah.
you going to make sure that each and every single one of those kids really knows how to read? To be fair,
Exactly. Yeah,
you are expecting miracles from a teacher, and I don't think that's fair.
yeah. And if you look how things are in our schools currently,
Yeah.
it's exceptionally challenging. I have the
Oh,
utmost respect for teachers. Whenever I'm every day at schools, I'll thank teachers, I acknowledge them because what they go through, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't appreciate teachers. It's
mm,
like I see firsthand experience of what teachers go through, what the learners are exposed to outside. And yeah, like you mentioned, I know books are not expensive, and I know you do find sometimes bargains at certain shops and things like that. The sad part, in the community we work in, there's no bookshops. It's like
oh
it's
yeah.
so sad. Like if you think about it, yeah, there's absolutely no bookshops. You can go to the local supermarkets that will sell books, but if you think about a bookshop, uh, an
Exclusive
exclusive
books,
books
bargain
or
books.
bargain books, there's nothing.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
so like, for a child to just, like you say, window shop, it's something that is so far from their mind, because there's nothing like that. And also, some of
Mm.
the children are not fortunate to travel outside of that area. It's like things that you and I might take for granted because we
Yeah.
grew up in a home where there was books. We went to the library.
Mm.
Even though there are
Mm.
libraries in the community, sometimes it's unsafe to send your child to the library
The library.
because and that's why I know, like, you and I can think, why are we not doing that? It's like, understand that some families are not by the means of doing simple things that you and I can say, take a drive to a bookshop. I also got two
Mm.
young daughters that I encourage the same. We go to the library, go to shops, and I understand that for some of these kids out there, it's yeah, it's a fantasy thinking of a bookshop. Because unfortunately, in some areas, they don't
No
have that
exposure.
access. And
Mm.
also some parents are struggling, when you think about, even though you can get a book for 5 rand, for example, but when a mom
Mm.
or a dad has to buy a bread, what do I have to buy? So that's why
Mm.
with us, when we provide these books to these children, yes, we've given
Yeah,
out 380,000 books, but it's actually 380,000 homes that have access to books now
that's
because
it.
that child took
That's
it
it.
home. So if you think about, if there's a
Yeah,
family of four, average four, it's 380,000 times four. That dad and that mom
that's
has the opportunity
powerful.
to sit there. You know what I mean? So we're trying to, okay, you can't go to the library, but we'll bring the library to you. And that's
That's
what it is. So
powerful.
now, yeah.
Ooh,
So that mom and dad can sit tonight and read that story. And we get
yeah.
those positive messages because those, you'll get a parent
Mm.
that will send you a Facebook message or send you a WhatsApp and say, I never knew my child wanted to read so much. So
Wow.
we're not only about inspiring those
Mm.
kids, we have now sent that inspiration back home. And we're
Mm.
hoping, because we know it starts at home, we need to inspire those families at home
Sure.
to inspire those kids. And that's how
Listen,
we're gonna,
very
yeah,
important. Yo,
yeah,
I love what you're saying.
yeah,
380,000 homes. Because now that you say that, I'm going back to
yeah,
my own childhood and
yeah,
every book that I took home. It was not just my
yeah,
book, my siblings
yeah,
also,
yeah,
um, when they were younger, seeing that the age gap between me and my siblings is quite big. At
yeah,
first, they would, color in my books. I would be so upset. They would do all
yeah,
sorts of drawings, but there was an ownership. And as they grew older, I think we all read the books.
yeah,
All went through the same books in the house.
yeah,
It might have
yeah,
started with me, then they read it. Sometimes they bring a book and I'm like, "Oh, that looks interesting. I would love to read that." And then you
yeah,
exchange these books amongst each other and you learn to respect books from the library. The library card is so important.
yeah,
You don't want to make any mistake with regards to
yeah,
the relationship between you and the library. It's
yeah,
so important. And I remember I actually visited the Joburg the main library in the Joburg CBD, the One Point,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
of my love for reading. It
Yeah.
became that vast that, oh, this
Yeah.
is what a library in a huge municipal area looks like.
Yeah.
It's mind opening, it's mind blowing, honestly. I
Yeah.
don't know, what are your experiences with books, man? +277 3470 3520. It's a WhatsApp number that you may use to let us know your experiences, and maybe just weigh in the conversation about literacy versus illiteracy, what you have observed. If it's something that you maybe have dealt with and you have overcome, share your story. We would love to hear the positivity of your journey as well, so that other people can be encouraged no matter how old they are. It makes me want to ask Roscoe about, is there a basic test for literacy, do you think?
Yeah. So, in our current curriculum,
Mm,
in the schools, I know like grade threes and grade sixes, they write a systemic test. Now, I know that all grade threes around South Africa and grade sixes, they write the same test, and with this, they are able to judge the child's reading ability and with understanding. So I know that's how they measure, and that's how they got to that shocking statistic of
ooh,
81% of grade fours can't read with understanding. So I
mm,
know that is what the schools are
mm,
implementing, but I know in the classrooms, teachers also have their own um, tests that they do, whether they get the child to come and read at the table or get the child to read in
mm.
front of the class. I know teachers, that they will engage similar to what we're doing, but one on one with that child.
One
And I
on
think that
one, yeah.
with designing our program, we work hand in hand with teachers. So especially when there's a new book, we always engage with the teachers, and they guide us to develop this program. So that's why when we go into the classes, a lot of times the teachers acknowledge us for doing
Mm,
this because they see that it's helping them to do their own literacy tests, and they now use these books
yeah.
at the same time. So
Nice. I
yeah,
like
so
it.
yeah, teachers are becoming very innovative, amongst themselves to just test kids and yeah, check their ability.
Something that I like thinking about is, particularly with high schools. I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe I don't remember my school age going time. By what grade do most children need to know how to read? Surely by the time you get to grade 6, kind of you sit in your reading
yeah,
ability, supposed to.
yeah,
Now, what happens
yeah,
if like you're saying, you've got all these tests and you realize that a child is struggling, they don't
yeah,
understand the difference between B and Z. So it's not even
yeah,
dyslexia, it's more than that.
yeah,
They just don't know their alphabets.
yeah,
And given that now in high school we don't even have like any reading time, like in
yeah,
primary school, particularly the younger
yeah,
grades. Um what can be done? Because your organization is one, we are 63
yeah,
million in the country.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
it's impossible, because it's not like you work for the government, to
yeah,
be stationed in every single school every single day.
yeah,
So when a teacher is confronted with the reality that I have 20 kids in a class of 60
yeah,
who don't know how to read at all,
yeah,
and the curriculum does not have any time allocated to teach them. Not only that, if you're in a high school,
yeah,
you don't know how to teach them that skill because you are not trained for
for that.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Now
What
that
must
is
be
exceptionally
done?
sad. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they normally say a child between the ages of 0 to 10. That's like the important time of a child, because that's when they're able to grasp very easily.
Skills, yes.
So we do know that a lot of children don't go to ECD. They don't go to creche, and I think that is where it actually starts. You're supposed to be starting before they come to school,
Mm,
exposing them to books, to
books.
reading, and
Mm,
and like they say, if the child hasn't gotten it by the age of 10, Now he moves on to grade 4. Now
Mm-hmm.
that teacher, the workload is more on that child, and
Mm,
there's no like you said, there's no support. It's like, if you've fallen behind, the
that's it.
bus continues to move. It continues to move. So I know in some schools they will have these learner support teachers, and how you go, but it's still they need a lot more help, and I think that, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
one to point fingers at anybody, but like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, if Ritu Rise had, teams at every school where you need to sit one on one with these kids, and help them. I think that there has to be this major drive to help these kids. More people can go in there, because even though there's a learner support teacher, but there's one teacher supporting all the struggling learners in that school. If you think about it, there's 20 kids in one class. There's a
One
thousand
class.
five hundred at one school. When does a teacher get to all that children?
It's
And
impossible.
we have children that now struggle to read, but then you also have children with various disabilities, that are in these schools.
Unidentified. Yeah.
Unidentified, and that's the other problem, is now getting that child into a special needs school. So now there's a waiting list. So
Mm.
now the waiting list is long. So what happens to that child?
5 years
Teachers have
pass.
in that class, you sit there. The child can't read, can't write. He's just in
They
the
get to
system. He's
matric
just,
and fail matric.
yeah.
So
And
sad.
the sad part is, like in high school, funny. I get people always contact me. There was a mom that contacted me, a child matriculated, but he can't read or write. So I'm like,
And she
how
was
is that
like,
possible?
how?
They got now what they do now is, in matric you can get a scribe. So someone will write your test for you, and they will read the question to you. So that child passed with distinctions, but he can't read or write. So
And in
you're
the
actually
real world, there's no
failing that child.
scribe anyway, which is
You
crazy.
fail. You're failing that child, because what happened? That child can't sign his contract. He can't engage on a business level. He can't. And that's how I'm saying. I don't. I don't like to point fingers, but it's something sad. Where there has to be like this major drive. There's so much literacy organizations working. We don't get support from the government. If they were just to sit down and get all these organizations and say, look, guys, we're going to fund these organizations, then we'll actually make an impact. Because every year the literacy is always a discussion with them, and they're going
Yeah.
to try and reinvent the wheel. We don't need to reinvent a new program or anything. There are people currently doing it. Just
Mhm.
engage with them, support
Yeah.
them, and then that's how we can measure impact and
No, for
continue to
real.
help them.
I'm increasingly convinced, Roscoe, that the future of this country is just not cared about.
Yeah,
You know, South Africa, I don't think that those who have the will
yeah,
care
yeah,
about the future of this country.
yeah,
Because what do you mean when thousands every single year of learners leave? Most of them actually don't qualify for entrance in varsity
yeah,
because the quality of the NSC, the matric
yeah,
certificate, is
yeah,
not legitimate. It's not
yeah,
legitimate. And these are
yeah.
things that people don't want to talk about, don't want to realize. It's the small but actually really
Mm,
big things.
yeah,
I talk about the 30% and 40% pass. When in
yeah,
university, that is a fail. And a
yeah, yeah,
university is a higher thinking institution than a high school.
yeah,
So if in a high school, which is lower, 30% is okay, how are you ever
yeah,
gonna make up that 20% for university? It's so
yeah.
messed up. It upsets me very
It's
much. I don't know.
it is, and yeah, it's extremely sad, because what type of kids are you trying to build? Like, we had our chance. We're doing it for these kids. Like you talk, your future leaders.
Yeah.
What about them? How can we forget about them? Why only affluent schools, they have everything?
Yeah.
Where our kids, we need and things in our community has become so bad now with gang violence, and it is so sad, like for this past
Substances.
couple of substance, this past week it has been so hectic where literally every day is on average 3 people being killed,
No
and it's
way.
gang violence. We're sitting in the class, they start shooting outside, kids lay on the floor.
Even in the
It's like,
class now, even in the schools, the gangs in schools.
yeah, they at high
Yeah,
schools,
there's
kids
gangs in
stab
schools
four
now.
kids.
Mhm.
And it's so it's like, and you can go into a class when you talk about reading, the classes is like a somber moment, because they now know, okay, I can't read, but as soon as you talk about the gang violence outside, wow, that class lights up,
Ooh.
because now that's what they're exposed to. And it's like, you we see the effects of this, because some families, if someone is now shot, what they do, let's go and look. Now we go look. I say, no, you're not supposed to go look, because they're so accustomed to, if something happened, now you go stand and look. It's like, no, it affects this child's brain, like, to see so much violence and deaths. You might
Mm.
think it's normal, but and we see it affects them psychologically. When this child, imagine, I mean, I if I see an accident and I just glance at it by chance, I know tonight it's going to be on my mind all the time. It's like, why did I look? So, like for these children, when they become immune to
Mhm.
seeing
It's normal
people
now.
laying there, it's normal. Now they look at me like, sir, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, no, just
This
you
happens all
telling
the
the
time.
story.
Like, what's the issue?
Yeah, yeah. So, like, my stomach gets upset just hearing these stories. And I'm like, ah, man, it's like, so I think that something
Oh, yeah.
drastic has to change, not only in our
Real.
schools, but also in society, and I think that also parents also need to just sometimes change mindsets. Yes, some of the parents went through a struggling time back in the day, but like now we have these kids. This is my child. I don't want my child to go through the same thing that happened then. The best thing
You're
that
saying
we can
something
do,
that
yeah, yeah, because like, okay, yeah, you go,
you know what I'm thinking, Nim?
yeah, yeah,
Um, the parents who are around, some of them were very young when they became parents.
yeah,
So people who also didn't maybe finish school.
yeah,
Because the assumption might be that everyone finished school, but that's not necessarily the case. So
yeah,
you might have someone who at the age of 14, 15 became a parent,
yeah,
is a single parent because the father is not in the picture.
yeah,
So raising this child alone in an extended family because you obviously don't have money to move out of home. You rely on the welfare system of the country and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And you're dealing with an adult who and it's probably rude for me to say this, but the only analogy I can think of is your development kind of ceased at the age of 14, 15 when you had a
yeah,
child, because now
yeah,
you're a parent who you're a child with a child.
yeah,
And now, 15 years later, when your child is now 15, doing the same things you used to do when you were her age.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and if you never changed how you live your life, there's still no positive role model in the home.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's like, okay, how do you get this 36-year-old to change her her
yeah,
ways that she's been set on all her life and sees nothing wrong with anything, you know?
yeah,
And she's
yeah,
now a parent. That those are the parents we have now. And at her age of 36, she might become a grandparent at the age of 36 because her child is doing the same things that she used to do.
no, and that's a sad reality. And also, sometimes, like those parents, if you didn't have a good relationship at school, you didn't
Mm,
enjoy school, didn't like the teachers, that energy rubs off on that kid. So
mm.
now, you're just sending that child just because of formality, but you don't
Jay,
actually
yeah,
invest in, yeah. And sometimes the
yeah.
problem child, so when when the teacher do send a letter home for Roscoe that's misbehaving, the parent never
Mm,
come to school. But
they think
just
it's
when
crazy.
something else
Mm,
happens, yeah. But just something drastic happens, and that parents are there first thing. They're there to fight. They are there
to
to,
fight.
and it's like,
Mm.
Yeah, why don't we work hand in hand with them? That's what I'm saying. Even if
Yes.
that there was a young parent, maybe they made a wrong choice, but like hopefully, what I'm hoping is for that young parent to think, look, I made a wrong choice. I don't want it to happen to my child. Let's do my best to help my child. Whether it's, and that is what we're hoping. But there are the ones I'm sure that is driving the kids to do well. But it's the
Definitely.
others that have just fallen in a system, in a routine
It's a
that is
crack.
just it's still stuck in
Yeah.
an old regime. And a young child like that is talking about how their parents suffered, and it's like, no, my friend, they can't talk to you that language because even me as a 44-year-old, we
Mm.
can talk about the bad era, and I know my parents went through things, but at no time am I blaming anybody. I've had to build myself up, even though what my parents went through, my siblings went through.
It's
We
painful.
don't teach our kids to hate because this is the thing in our systems now. We teach our kids this is what happened. The whole political agenda thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we can't be stuck in that because then that means you're also going to be stuck in that regime where you have
Oh,
nothing, nothing of have to build ourselves. Yes, they went through that. Now let's build ourselves up. And I think that is what it is. It's about building. You have to build ourselves up with what we have here.
yeah. It's really scary because when I think about it, it's almost like, so if a child who does not know how to read and write has limited options, can you imagine how that person sustains themselves economically when they are now an adult? I
Yeah,
assume that your options, if it is not to sell in the streets,
yeah,
it's probably going to be gangsterism, selling
yeah,
drugs for someone, so they're gonna pimp you out.
yeah,
So it's a lifestyle of syndicates to
yes,
try and make
exactly.
money. If you're a
Yeah,
woman, it's a lifestyle of getting in. I mean, you're still gonna be pumped out some way,
yeah,
somehow.
yes.
You know,
Somehow, yeah,
that, yeah, I don't know. Ish. And
and
when
yeah,
when you was talking about the elderly people and maybe sometimes going home with your trauma that you have not healed from when you were
yeah,
in school and that energy, as you raised your
yeah,
kids, we also then need to have conversations with adults and try and sway their
yeah,
attitude, their
yeah,
mindset,
yeah,
because it's good that we are helping the kids, but the child doesn't even have any influence at home because you're just a child. Shut up.
yeah,
I don't know. What
yeah. I
would
know.
your
It's
final
no,
message be?
no,
Yeah.
no. I know it's so hard getting that message across to the parents. It's very challenging. That's why I got no political affiliation or anything. It's
Mm,
just sad that sometimes the messages that speaking over these kids is such because if you get a grade 3 child telling you about what happened back in the day, it's like, no, my friend, we can't. Even your mom that is 28 can't talk about what happened back
mm,
then. And I think that is that stories, and we have to just try and lift them out of the hole that
mm.
they're in, and spark something. Yeah,
Yeah. Aish, this has been a very
yeah.
beautiful conversation with you. How can people be part and parcel of the work that you do at Read to Rise?
So we do have a website, www.reachrise.org, so people can check out our website. We had all the social media platforms. You can see um, all our work we do. So we don't only work in the Western Cape. We also got a team in Soweto. So we work in 30 schools in Soweto. We've go to Durban, Limpopo. We go as an NGO. Wherever the funding takes us, we are able
Mm,
to move. Soon we go into a new province. We're going to Kapega. First time going there.
oh,
So
nice.
we will be visiting schools out there. So if
Yeah.
people or corporates want to get involved, yeah, check out us on our website and our social media, and it'll be amazing to partner up with you guys.
Beautiful. We wish you so well in the work that you do. A question just popped up as we are
Yeah,
wrapping up.
yeah.
Uh, these reading issues that we've spoken about in South Africa, in the other Southern African countries, do they have the same issues or are they different to us? Do you know?
I think it varies. Not so long ago, last year I was on a international program in the US, and
Mm.
I was there was some guys from Cameroon and Kenya, Namibia. It was also a part of our program, and I got to ask them, and there it is there that literacy is an issue all around. There's certain parts where people um, don't have issues. It's very similar here. The fancier areas are more advanced than the others, and I think that it's a worldwide issue.
Okay.
Even while in the States, we visited schools there.
Oh
It's
yeah.
same thing. It's
Oh,
literacy
America.
issues.
Yeah, no.
No, yeah, no. I know that's hectic, but I think that it's all over. I mean, they have their own issues, but
Yeah.
the literacy is a huge issue, and that's why when I got an opportunity to tell them there what I was doing, they were blown
Mm.
away. Blown away is a wrong word to use now, especially to the States. But you know what I mean. They were so impressed with the
Yeah.
work we're doing,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I think the literacy is a
It's
worldwide
an
issue. Yeah,
issue, man. Yeah,
big
for
issue.
real. We're
Yeah.
gonna check you guys out and we wish you well.
Thank
And
you.
Gabecha, I hope they're excited and ready
Yeah.
to receive you guys and the work that you do. And we hope that the funding does indeed improve so that you guys can also get more people on board to assist in this pandemic. Roscoe, may you keep well. Read to rise. Blessings to you coming your way. Thank you so much for
Thank you
this
very
morning.
much. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. And that's where we're going to leave it this morning with Read to Rise, as well as the Glorious Morning. You have a fantastic one further. Let's meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock. But for now, here coming through is Zinhle Kambule on the Mid Morning Empowerment.
Adventist World Radio, SID Media.